Hi there, my name is Rihanna, and we're back at it with another video on this lovely Monday. And this week is not an Artist of Life workbook review by any means, but I am pulling from the Artist of Life workbook because essentially one of my goals is in here, and it is the topic of today's video, which is gardening. So kind of what I wanted to go over was my hopes and dreams and plans for kind of the future, the goals that I have for this year for gardening, and maybe just, share a little bit of the long-term stuff that I want to dive into, what I want to, try in the future. So I am trying to work on looking like directly at the camera per se, instead of like almost looking off screen a little bit. So excuse me for trying that, because I have noticed that in prior videos while editing, let alone, like, I just think it's a generic, good behavior, not good behavior, but common decency, common etiquette, to look a little bit better, because I want to look like over here towards where my, like, stop button is, or my play stop, I guess you want to call it. But I need to be more looking, I think, about here, and it looks a little weird. So yeah, with all that in mind, I hope that this interests somebody. This is just a little bit more of like a reflection for me as well, so that I can like eventually look back at, this video and everything that I've planned, not only just in like physical copy, but also, me verbalizing it. It sounds woo-woo, but, verbalizing it, manifesting it, however it might pertain, but book, in the back of the workbook there is a handful of line pages and a handful of dotted pages. I alluded to this in previous videos, I think in the last video, but it's less in here than in years past, and I think that was one of the things that Eileen got notated on when she wanted to make revisions, stuff like that. It was just a little, I guess, enough people were saying, like, hey, that's too much. But I've been really taking advantage and using it, kind of like I've said in my Artist of Life workbook reviews for January and February, is I'm really trying to maximize, like, every ounce of this workbook. Which sounds obvious, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes you kind of fall out of things, or you just find what works and what doesn't, and I'm just going ham on this. So this is where some of my garden hopes and dreams and wishes lie, and so I'm going to be pulling from that. And so if you see me looking down, that is mostly why. I am, again, trying to keep my eyes on my phone, so hear me out. I'm trying. Okay, I'm new to this whole thing. I'm new. So with that in mind, I'm going to flip over to some of my, like, more of the line pages, because with the dotted pages, I've been using it for more, like, either graphs for certain things, or, like, using it as a thing to map out my garden more so, because it's more helpful than I thought it'd be, even though I'm using a ruler as well. But hey, so generally speaking, let's get started on me sharing kind of what gardening is for me. Gardening, for the most part, at our house, I'm using a few different types of gardening methods. I have one green stalk garden that I have that I have stacked. I have 3 tiers of them set up. It's supposed to be like a 5-tier stackable planter garden thing. So I have 3 of those already filled with some soil that I'm wanting to take advantage of, and they are more so for my, like, leafy greens. I've done in years past a bunch of leafy greens and herbs, and I'm going to keep doing that because it just seems to really work a lot better for those more leafy greens and that sort of stuff. Some people do plant tomatoes, peppers, those, like, trellising type of stuff, the plants that, like, really like to get big. I've seen people do it. I'm not that confident yet in my gardening abilities. I'm not saying it won't happen ever for me, but at least for this year, that's not my intentions for the green stalk garden. So I got the green stalk garden that I can plant in. I have some grow bags that I already have some garlic in, that I planted in like October, November. Since we live up north, it's usually recommended as well that you plant it before essentially the like the ground gets hard and snows, so that they can overwinter, get really rooted and nice and like in there, and then they'll start fruitioning, kind of like a spring blooming flower. So I have a bunch of grow bags already with garlic in it, so I've kind of already gotten a little bit of a head start with my gardening and endeavors this year, but I do have that going. So I'll have the grow bags and the green stalk tower thing that I already have, that are either in use or can easily start my spring garden. And then I have it's kind of like a home garden next to our garage that's like this rectangular area that was kind of already set up when we got the place and moved in, which I thought was really cool. So I'll be using that more for my tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers, so just some of the bigger plants, for, you know, it's just a little bit more space. And that's where I've planted prior and had some success, and I just really want to like build that up and use that since it's already like an established garden. So those are what I have accessible. Plus I have a few other like little containers that I bought when we first moved in springtime, and we had some time prior when we were like painting and cleaning up the house and stuff like that, that I just had some herbs and stuff like that when we were stopping by, since we lived rather close anyway. So that's kind of what I already have access to and can just easily either reset up or just, you know, cultivate a little bit. So that's what I have access to now. I've said this like 500 times, haven't I? And what I plan on using this year. And then in coming years, we have so much of the backyard that is unattended to, and is just existing as like this like hodgepodge of like, it needs help. It desperately needs help. So hopefully in years to come, and I can take you along with that journey, you know, hopefully that I'll be able to build that out more for a more functional yard that I want to, you know, use in the compass with, you know, get-togethers, obviously a bigger garden, start to build out my garden a little bit, get some like actual like in-ground area to plant, and some more like raised beds is going to be some of that goal as well. And all of that's in front of like our blueberry bush grove area that I call it, since we have a handful of blueberry bushes that I found a couple of years ago with our dog. So that's kind of the all-encompassing scope of what that looks like. And what I'll do is I'll try, as I'm going through this, I'll try to insert some of my pictures on what I'm planning for this year, and kind of like my general scope of planting stuff. Since we can obviously transition from spring to summer to hopefully some fall stuff, and like later falls and stuff like that, and maybe even plant garlic towards the end of the year, you know, with that being filmed. So that's kind of the general scope of what gardening looks like overall for me at the moment. And yeah, so let's dive into what the actual plans. So for my garden plans this year, I'll just start with spring, because I kind of already mentioned garlic, and that's already planted, and it's kind of like a spring summery thing, because you want to get the stalks of them. I think that's what they're called. The greenery. You want the greenery way up. And excuse me, I still kind of am getting over my sickness from my last video that I mentioned. But yeah, so I already have garlic in, so for spring, I want to plant and use some of the container gardenings, especially for lettuce, spinach, mustard greens. What else do I have? Obviously herbs like cilantro, basil, sage, because I did some container of that last year and it just didn't overwinter really well. The sage that I had did come back for a second, like, go around year, but was super woody, so I think it's time to start some new. And then, so there's a bunch of like greenery stuff, like salads and herbs. And then I want to do a bunch of quick turnaround crops like radishes, turnips, beets, because some of the stuff that we want to eat and try and good stuff like that. So we got that stuff kind of going. And then for summer stuff, cucumbers, peppers, both bell pepper, like sweet peppers, and hot peppers, and tomatoes are our main ones. So I can make like salsa and just like regular fresh eating, stuff like that, and just regular preserving. And then fall, I'll kind of do the same thing as spring, where I'll start to do more leafy greens and root vegetables, maybe even throw in some carrots and that sort of stuff, so that we can just have some, good last hurrah stuff, and then use some of the green stuff with, like, if I can, like, refrigerate or put up some, like, tomatoes or whatever have you, just for, like, salads or sandwiches and that sort of stuff. So, that's kind of the general gist of what I want this year for gardening to go through. And essentially some of the stuff that I want to do, I wrote down a bunch of recipes that I wanted to try, and I printed out some of the ones that are really good for canning and that sort of stuff. So I want to obviously do a bunch of fresh eating goodies, and then if I can muster up the goodness of gardening harvests, I want to have enough for making hot sauce, both like in a salsa, what you would like do in Mexican cuisine, as well as making a homemade chicken hot wing, like a Frank's Red Hot dupe. I want to do that. Pizza sauce, tomato sauce, that sort of stuff. Barbecue. I want to try barbecue sauce from home. I'm not sure how much fruit, quite literally, I'll produce. So all of this could be tentative, and I'll kind of weed out like the stuff that I really, really want to put up and use and have, versus stuff that I can just save for a later time when I'm way more experienced and established as a gardener and can get more harvest. So if I don't get to all of this, I'm perfectly happy. I just want at least a certain amount of stuff to work with, and obviously everything more. And I'm just, again, mustering the garden fairies to just love on my garden this year. And then obviously with garlic and stuff like that, I want to do garlic and tomatoes in oil and that type of stuff for putting up or infuse. Because I would like to try infused oils, maybe as some gifts for some of the foodie people that I have in my life, well, let alone myself. I want to make enchilada sauce. Oh, that's another thing that I wanted to try planting and actually getting is some cabbage for sauerkraut, let alone just salads or slaw, coleslaw. So that's kind of the overall wish list for what I want to create with my own garden, and anyone that wants to donate. Because I do have some other gardeners in my life close by. And then with that, let me look where else, because that was its own page. Cleared outside of my long-term wants for gardening. So with that, and obviously you can kind of infer the bigger crops can go in my already established garden space by our garage, and then the more petite plants and the root vegetables I can just put in my grow bags, in my smaller containers, in my green stock, because they're called green stalks. And hopefully I'll be able to, I'm thinking, since I have some unused green stalks, the container parts of them, since I have other green stock parts for the different container parts of them, hopefully by the fall I'll be able to put more soil in them to have more space to container grow, and then I can maybe try to put some stuff on the porch in the use it as like a they're called greenhouses. Put move them inside into our porch because it does kind of stay a little bit temperate and then like slow grow and extend our season a little bit with some like leafy greens and stuff like that for like salads and sandwiches, or maybe add them to soups and stews and have some like herbs as well. So hopefully I can get those up and ready with budgeting it in and stuff like that, so we can have stuff going into like November, December maybe, and see kind of just how long it lasts. Because maybe it'll even last through like January, February. Who knows? Like, who knows? But I do want to try. Hopefully I'll be able to get some more soil by the fall and set those up for my fall garden. So yeah, so that's the kind of general gist of what I want to what I want to plant out this year, and kind of the general scope of what I want to do with the harvesting crops and all that sort of good stuff. So if you're interested in this type of stuff, if you don't mind giving it a nice good old thumbs up, and leave a comment down below if you are trying to garden this year and what you're trying to garden with, whether it be like a container gardening or in-ground gardening, if you have like a little plot, if it's, are you porch gardening this year, and then like if you want to share, and then obviously what you want to plant or are interested in planting. So yeah, with that in mind, I know this is like a little bit quicker of a video, and I want to kind of keep it that way, so there's like at least a little shorter one in the midst of my monthly workbook reviews, because those seem to be about 20 to 30, 35-ish minute ones. So on that note, I hope this finds you well, and I hope that you have a good rest of your day, week, night, whenever you're watching this. So hope you have a good one. Bye.